Hi everyone, this is my interview for the week 3 interview section, and I have my friend Thomas here with me,
Hello.
and we're just going to kind of roll into it. I've got some basic questions for you first. If you want to tell anybody about yourself beforehand, you can go ahead and do that now if you want.
Uh, well, as you already explained, I'm Tom Bosley. I've been a buddy of Logan's for decent few years now. I've been pretty big in the video game industry. Currently serving in the military stationed up in New York. So it's pretty much the gist of it.
Okay, so we've just got I've just got some basic questions for you, nothing too serious. So, where were you born?
I was born in San Jose, California.
Okay, what's your favorite food?
My favorite food would honestly probably be fried rice.
Fried rice? I did not know that.
Yes.
So, what's your favorite gaming system or platform and why?
For the longest time, I actually really enjoyed the PlayStation console, mostly for the party gaming reasons. As of recent years, though, I've leaned more towards PC because console has gone more to exclusively online or exclusively single player. So you lost that interactive feeling of actually having friends over and actually like having a social experience with playing the game.
So you by that you mean like the elimination of like couch co-op and that type of thing?
Yes.
Okay. And what's your favorite game of all time?
It's actually a pretty hard question. I'd have to say honestly, the Command and Conquer series. I've always been a huge fan of old school base building RTS games, mostly just because of the layers of strategy that would go into it. There's a lot of management schemes to it, like having to manage your own economy and managing your force and tactics as well.
Some like nitty gritty stuff, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got a tougher one here. Describe how you perceive gaming as a whole. So where do you see like gaming culture as it is now? Like, what's your stance on how it's kind of changed from previous times and like where it is now?
Well, as you stated before, the whole couch co-op and stuff like that used to be much more prevalent in older gaming society. Basically, like even in the times of the arcade, you're able to share the arcade screen. You had your buddies there. There's more physical social interaction, which I believe was a very important part of it at the time. Now, however, has leaned more towards social interaction over long distances or over like the Bluetooth or Skype and stuff like that to be able to play a game, which eliminates that kind of real social interaction that you have between people and eliminates a lot of the characteristics of that. That'd be one of the biggest changes. The next biggest change would honestly be marketing. Marketing now is much more aggressive than what it used to be for video games. This now it isolates groups more and more and tries to call just to try to meet marketing numbers and try to get the maximum amount of players possible. So nowadays you'd have more of like an overhype for a game just to try to meet that market quota, whereas before it was pretty much like the nitty gritty of how the game was.
So kind of like how they handled Destiny and No Man's Sky and how they got overhyped, and you feel like they didn't live up to it, so ended up hurting the game's sales drastically later on.
Exactly.
Okay. Are there any upcoming games that you're really looking forward to?
Honestly, I was looking forward to Horizons for the PlayStation 4. It seemed like a very interactive experience. I mean, for those of you that haven't really seen the video, it's like a cybernetic world where basically like machines take place of like living animals and the like, and people coexist with these machines. However, there's like a rampant, it appears to be like a virus that contaminates and taints these machines into murdering people, murdering each other, and being like overall power hungry. And you play as a female character from a tribe, and you basically play through the whole storyline of the game. And there's like a lot of crafting and a lot of like small micro details that really add to the overall features of the game.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one too. I think it's going to be good. Um,
Uh,
what are some unpopular opinions you have on gaming culture right now or previously, like games that you liked that
uh,
weren't well received
biggest
critically?
Uh, some of my more negative dispositions on games nowadays falls in more of like your most common games, like Call of Duty or even Battlefield in most cases, where the developers are trying to move at such a high rate of pace because when a game first releases, that's when your sales go through the roof. Like that's the trending of how it is now. Is like when your game first releases, market sales go crazy, and then after a year or two, they fade out. So they're trying to literally pump out a game every year or so, which leads to rushing your dev teams, which leads to mistakes being made or sloppy work, like repeating the same type of formula over and over again, which in the end actually makes it rather boring over extended periods of time. That would probably be one of the biggest ones. A lot of people debate about it quite frequently, but that's my firm stance on that.
Okay. And then this one's a bit more about your real life stuff. What's your favorite memory from basic training?
Uh, Honestly, probably the food. Uh,
Okay.
I mean, when you don't have a lot to really lean on, I mean, food's pretty much like your big constant.
Okay. So, what are some of your thoughts on the current political state of our country?
Um, Honestly, as far as a lot of the political situations right now, as I said before, my opinions do not reflect that of my organization, the military, or the government. Uh, but my opinions on it is the country is in a lot of turmoil due to change right now. I mean, it has been for a good few years. Uh, Basically, you have a lot of people kind of just going off of like the mass media of like what it's saying is happening versus like what is actually happening. Like if you haven't noticed, like you look on one news station, it'll say like, well, what this person did, what person X did was great. Where you look at another one, it's like, no, this is like the bad things that this person does. All of them are like skewed to try to like lean towards viewers and try to get the whole party system to split. Um, my personal opinion, as far as Trump lately, is I do not agree with all his picks and all his decisions. However, some of his decisions I can see where he's coming from, and I would like to actually see them succeed.
Okay. And where do you see yourself being in 5 years in terms of your career or where you're living, all that?
The way things are going right now, and about another 5 years, I'll be down at Colorado. 5 years from now I'd just be getting out of the army, finishing up this next contract. Uh, should already have my master's by that time, and I'll be trying to get into a field in game design. However, for a temporary job, I already have it lined up as worker for Convergys Systems, being outsourced to either Amazon or DirecTV.
Awesome. And here's the final question: are there any projects you're working on? Because I remember when we were in high school, you'd have game projects you were working on, and I know, well, you can say it, but is there anything else that you're working on?
Actually, yes. After the rather annoying accident of losing all my files upon my initial project, I decided to take it different terms. I mean, for the longest time, I was dabbling here and there in between different game engines, seeing the pros and cons. As of recently, I have leaned towards the Unreal 4 engine, especially with its visual scripting software and the support it has for it. And I'm making a game that's basically based off of, it's a ricochet shooter. So it's like a really physics intensive game, a lot of action, a lot of moving, and all like the ballistics of the game will be based off of ricochet effects.
Okay. So it sounds a lot. It sounds a lot different than anything that's out there right now. So I'm sure it'll be cool when you eventually get it. When you get like a beta, or when you start getting actual working prototypes out.
Yeah, I'm hoping to be able to crank out at least a playable version before EAS out of the army.
Okay.
But we'll see how it goes from there. I mean, when it comes to game development, there's a lot of things that could stunt a game's growth, especially with as much changes as that technology is going through right now.
Yeah. All right, Thomas. Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate the interview.
No problem, Logan. Anytime.